To presume truth is fiction in joinder is insane, that is, acting as if that which is fiction is joined and bound to that which is truth. Any who are insane are therefore disqualified from being bound to substantive natural law contract that is empowered by that with the authority to do so. The utility of insanity in blindness to truth has utility in the affirmation of natural law, and has the means to produce suffering in the following key elements in reality: colorable law, religion, finance, and government. The word colorable is indicative of fiction, and some of the other ways that fictional law is indicated are terms which include colorable law, fictions of law, regulation, code, statute, bylaw, policy, etc. Jurisdiction applies to a realm in fiction to which a colorable law is agreed to apply. Since colorable law has power only when accepted by willing contractual agreement, then the enforcement of colorable law pertains to the enforcement of the contract. The force is applied to observational facets to adhere to that which one agreed to. That which is legal distinguishes colorable law from natural law within the jurisdiction that confines the colorable body of law and its applicability entirely in fiction. Not knowing the difference between what is legal and what is lawful is insanity that produces consequences in natural law by one not being able to discern truth from fiction. Any observational facet who cannot know the difference between natural law and colorable law is insane, and therefore incompetent. If there is any observational facet that believes they have the power to create and enforce natural law, then they are required to prove it by abolishing the law of gravity for a period of 5 minutes over the entire planet. Otherwise, that observational facet is insane and will be treated as such. Colorable law itself exposes a paradoxical error, in that for an observational facet to be presumed substantively bound to a colorable contract requires one to be sane and therefore competent. Since one is insane due to an inability to know the truth from fiction, as in the case of a colorable contract, then they cannot, under natural law, be held to the terms of any colorable contract, because they are insane, and therefore incompetent. If that appears as insane, it is because, in truth, it is insane. Colorable contract exists as a means to produce suffering, to affirm the law that truth is not fiction. Are we learning yet? If an entity's existence is dependent on fiction, then the entity is held in natural law as entirely fiction, as fiction cannot become truth merely because everyone believes it to be so. The theory of legal positivism is the thesis that the existence and content of law depend on social facts and not its merits. The theory itself is a fiction. If an observational facet chooses to indulge that theory, then they are insane. In religion, if one chooses to take a representation of truth or a documentation of truth as truth rather than truth itself, then an observational facet that does so is insane. Those that promote the error are insane, and the law they describe has its source in insanity and is colorable. One can simply observe religion in action right now and know the truth. Governments today, which have no founding on contractual consent, nor do they exist as a lawful trust between observational facets as established in natural law, but are rather a fictional corporation founded entirely in colorable law. The word government, meaning control of the mind, is wholly appropriate. Many observational facets protest and resist a fiction of government, thereby rendering themselves insane. Do these insane observational facets, protesting a fiction, actually expect something other than harsh treatment by those that are themselves insane? If true change is indeed desired, then there must be a remedy to the collective insanity of all observational facets. It is sanity to conclude that placing the one who is insane as a leader to follow is not to be considered exercising proper care for the insane, and constitutes an act that produces suffering under natural law. Finance, which controls resources of the planet Earth, employs the use of colorable money that is merely a promise to pay, or an IOU. The use of these instruments in lieu of substantive resource is insanity, as it has only perceived value above the paper it is printed on. It is merely a self-imposed delusion and indulgence of fiction over truth. Even more insane is to expect that the promise to pay, in substance, will actually be kept by the insane. Trading substantive labor and time for fiction is insane. Since the use of colorable money cannot pay substantive debt, then the people of Earth have deluded themselves into believing they can confer ownership in truth. The people of Earth do not even own the clothes on their back and lack the capacity to know this truth. Any observational facet that claims to represent a fiction, act as an agent for a fiction, or one who claims to have the authority to enforce colorable law against any competent observational facet, and against that observational facet's will, is subject to the following test of competency. The fiction that they claim to represent must first present itself in full view of the world, express its mind, demonstrate its will, make substantive unassisted effect on the universe, and speak to confirm that the observational facet making this claim of authority is indeed authorized to act and speak on the behalf of this fiction. If that does not occur, then the facet claiming to act under the authority of a fiction is therefore insane, and under natural law will be subjected to the colorable law that he is attempting to perpetrate on other observational facets. That, given the current absurd state that exists now, is that the incompetent facet will lose all power, right of self-determination, and choice, be immediately arrested, be stripped bare in public view, be tasered into submission, be bound, gagged, be forced medicated. They will then be chipped, be ear-tagged, be immunized against all generally accepted viral disease, be force-fed poisoned food and water, be sterilized, be waterboarded, be starved to weakness, be subjected to all forms of non-lethal and active denial devices, be killed by an unmanned drone, have their remains collected and urinated on, have their remains tossed into a landfill, be defamed as a criminal and laughingstock worldwide. If all other observational facets, within, without, above, and below, choose to remedy their insanity and confusion, then they can demonstrate their will by learning natural law and comporting themselves in a sane and competent manner, such that they can care properly for the insane that choose otherwise. Consider yourself notified and duly warned under natural law, and subject to consequences manifested by that which has the power and authority to do so. All observational facets, now notified, have the responsibility to demonstrate to himself, herself, itself, the content, application, and power of natural law. It is not insane to expect, demand, and receive justice, provided the true perpetrator is known. In that, a mirror can be useful in divining the identity of the perpetrator. The contract revealed in this notice and warning is now in force.